everyone. There are a whopping 4 guests for this episode of Talking Smack, and they all have one thing in common. I'm Casualeann. Come with me. Our hosts for this October 9th edition of Talking Smack are Jackie Redmond and Matt Camp. All 4 first-round winners of King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown tournaments from the SmackDown side are the guests. And we'll look at who they are in just a little bit. The conversation begins with the contract signing for the SmackDown Women's Championship 3-way at Crown Jewel with Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks. So Matt Camp says this is how contract signings just go. Now, they always break down. Bianca KODs Becky threw a table onto Sasha Banks in a clip that has been played time and time again. Now, Redmond adds that though Bianca is considered the rookie of the 3 of them, when she stands tall at the end, that makes a statement. Discussion turns to the brackets for King of the Ring and Queen's Crown, with some details forthcoming. They announced that Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch will face off on this week's supersized SmackDown. Now, the one thing that pops out to me is just how few competitors they really started with. And I realize that the rosters are somewhat thin on the women's side, but things were so hurried, you essentially began the tournament at the quarterfinals. But they do have enough people to make it work. Now, just going through the women's roster, I kind of came up with some fantasy brackets of my own, starting from 16 individuals as opposed to 8. I think I'm going to put those up here, and you all let me know who your King and Queen of the Ring would be based on 16 individuals as opposed to 8. I would love to know your thoughts about that. So next they cover how things went down in the first round of the King of the Ring. Sami Zayn was victorious over Mysterio via some idiocy. Sami takes the turnbuckle pad off. Dominic tries to put it back on for some reason. Ray chastises him, tries to get him down from the ring apron. And of course, this distracts him, handing Sami the win. Now, Sami does the heel thing, lays his hands all on the regalia. You're not supposed to do that. He does it. But Megan Morant has Sami Zayn backstage, and in saying that he did advance, that he's gone on to the next round, I had no idea how much he sounds like a less agitated Kevin Owens. Like, it's crazy if you listen to both of them. Morant offers congratulations on his victory and asks what would a King Sami actually look like. Ugh. He notes a storybook quality to it all. Him being put down at every turn, being drafted dead last, yet finally rising to power. As king, he'll be a benevolent ruler. And Morant and all the crew around them, oh, he's going to keep their jobs safe, because that's the kind of ruler that he's going to be, despite the fact that they were rude to him. Now, the conspiracies aren't back in full force just yet, but you still get that tiny sense of like big guy, little guy, powers that be, that sort of flavoring in his comments. I'm like, so no one's gonna be the one to step up and tell Sami that he's not the kind of king that can fire and hire people. But okay, cool. He restates that he is a man of the people, and maybe he would even appoint a prince. Now, who could that be? Who? Mustafa Ali, Finn Balor, Prince Puma, Prince Albert? No. Prince Dominic Mysterio. He reminds us that we already know that Ray has no chance of being king anymore, since Sami beat him. But Dominic can still be royalty. And so Sami Zayn's first act as king would be to free him from his authoritarian ruler, his tyrant, his father. He will set him free as King Sami. Then he goes off screaming, King Sami! King Sami! Yeah! No! Matt Camp calls him the power-hungry Sami Zayn, that this cannot happen, but oddly enough, he's earned Jackie Redmond's respect. I just don't see it. Maybe after one of those barber transformations you see in New York with the homeless men, maybe after one of those, possibly, but right now, no. Nah, bruh. That said, though, This was a great performance. I was laughing all the way through, and I have to admit that the Zayn kind of propaganda and the idea of a Prince Dominic Mysterio, it's a pretty intriguing prospect. I dig it, but not enough to have Zayn as the ruler. Such propaganda. He's so manipulative. There are some ads, and the show returns with coverage of the Zelina Vega versus Toni Storm match. Nick Camp reflects he and the universe thought Toni may be the favorite here, but quote, the confidence and fire Zelina Vega has shown since returning was on full display. I'm like, she's won like 2 matches since she's been back, but sure, why not? I think it was a bad idea for them to book this way. Even if it turns into a feud, which again, I have been hoping for, Toni will win the next matchup, you know, just to make sure that no one is elevated. Toni just needed it more, and she had more of an upward trajectory than Zelina does, so this was unfortunate. They call this the biggest win of Zelina's career. Megan Morant is with Zelina. She's also congratulated and asked what it would mean to be Queen of the Ring. Now Zelina responds that it would cement her place in history. She would prove to the universe and all the social media trolls that they're gonna kiss the ring when she gets it. Morant points out that Carmella advanced too, so given their history, how will Zelina prepare for her? Now she said it doesn't matter who she faces, including her frenemy. Carmella's beautiful, but Zelina is going to become queen. Now Camp thinks there's something to this idea of Queen Zelina, and Redmond notes her intensive concentration and focus now. The topic moves to Finn Bálor versus Cesaro. Camp calls this the match of the night and reminds us that Bálor is moving to Raw soon. He and Sami Zayn will now face off in the semifinals to find out who will represent SmackDown in the finals. And by the way, mind you, why do SmackDown superstars have to face only other SmackDown superstars? That makes no sense to me. You could build the Raw and SmackDown shows through the weeks of the tournament as must-see, because the superstars in the tournament won't be able to face each other in a couple weeks. You could have someone on SmackDown come to Raw for a night for the Queen's Crown, get into an altercation with another superstar, and even if they lose, now they have a new feud to go into when they switch brands. Same thing with King of the Ring. But Redmond points out the tenacity of Bálor after his loss at Extreme Rules. He's now come back to possibly become King of the Ring, and Megan Morant elicits some responses from him. She asks how he'll prepare for Sami Zayn, and still breathing hard, he puts over Cesaro and calls him the best in this sport, in his opinion, and that you can't overlook him. Oh yes, you can. You shouldn't, but you can. He calls this a hard-fought victory in one of his toughest matches since he came to SmackDown. But he reminds Zayn that he's stepping into the ring with Finn Bálor at the peak of his career, and that he's looking at the champion. I love how fresh and real this seemed, like Megan Morant had caught him like moments off of the ramp in the locker room. Maybe she did. But Finn is another reliable choice for a great kind of high-octane segment, much like a Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Xavier Woods, Sami Zayn. This was no different. Matt Camp notes the confidence booster beating someone of the caliber of Cesaro would give. It was an excellent match, but again, Cesaro has to take the L. I kept wondering how long they'd have him teetering on the precipice of greatness, and I think I started to get my answer with this match. They're going to pull him back from it. Mid-card at best. Finn Bálor had already been defeated by Roman. Demon Finn Bálor had already been defeated by Roman. Being King of the Ring would have benefited him none, because we already know that he can't beat the champion. So why not have Cesaro win this time? Or have them meet further down the brackets, like at the semifinal round. Again, the match itself was lovely, but I just hated the result. We get some ads. Now, since they've become rather generic, I tend not to even mention them anymore, but this time there was a package for King of the Ring and Queen's Crown. They, in this video, gave these tournaments way too much star power, more than they actually have many times over. They feature Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Rhea Ripley, Naomi, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, none of which, by the way, are in the tournament. I just thought that was stupid. I mean, interesting. I thought it was interesting. That's what I said. Interesting. Then we get recap of Carmella and Liv Morgan's first round match. Carmella advanced, mask and all, to face Zelina Vega in the semifinals. The alliances and tag teams are now to be cast aside. Camp and Redmond go on and on about the mask. Why, I don't know. But then they go to Megan Morant and Carmella. She tells Carmella that she's already the most beautiful woman in WWE. And Carmella picks the thought up and runs with it. She sneaks a tidbit of history in that she was already the first ever Women's Money in the Bank winner, and that now she'll be the winner of the first ever Queen's Crown tournament. Then Megan gives us the flip side of her earlier segment. How do you prepare for Zelina Vega? Carmella expresses no worry over Zelina at all. She'll do whatever it takes to win because that is what a queen does. Then she tells Megan to tell her she's beautiful, and then she runs off. Now, I've pointed out before that opposing sides of a contest or feud is not something that they tend to feature on a single episode. They'll have one side on one week and the other side on the next week. So this was kind of a nice move to put both sides of the feud or both sides of the Queen's Crown semifinals on one show, even if they were interviewed separately. So lastly, they discuss Edge and Seth Rollins. Seth talked all that trash about Edge, his kids, how he was no longer an inspiration, and Edge stormed down that ramp and got him a piece. It was hilarious. Edge is always so intense, and that slow look of realization on Seth's face when Edge said Hell in a Cell, priceless. I have completely omitted the rating from my notes and the must-watch segment, so we're gonna go off the top of our heads with this one. I'd say the rating is... Who was on here? Who was on here? I'd say the rating is 5 out of 5. This super-sized Talking Smack worked so much better than last week's did, and it was still concise. It didn't take a huge amount of time. The 4 guests were tremendous, each in their own right. Absolutely loved it all the way through. My must watch is Finn Balor. His intensity, his overwhelming tenacity at this point, he calls it the peak of his career, which I would maybe argue against, but at least he's shown us that he's focused on Sami Zayn and he puts over Cesaro. I can't ask for more than that if the man wasn't able to win. So are you all gonna watch Crown Jewel? If so, what match are you most looking forward to? Who's a surprise pick you'd like for King or Queen of the Ring? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Tap that bell icon to make sure you get notifications for when new videos arrive. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.